All right, good afternoon, YouTube. It is middle of May, 2026. I'm not quite up to 3 years on my stick vacuum. I'm about a month shy, but I got an opportunity. The house is empty, so I figured I'd take this time to talk to you about it. I did a review last year, which was a 2-year review, and like I said, 3 years. So I have been running this thing true to form essentially every day. Now, when I'm out of town, sometimes we'll miss a day, but I would say on average, during the last 3 years, this thing has probably run 5 days a week. I literally vacuum my entire house with it. I don't really use the plug-in vacuum much anymore. And I've been routinely, exclusively, most of the time, running this Frankenberry that I talked about last time. This is a trash-picked 1.3 amp Ryobi battery mated to half of an Ego battery that my buddy gave me to recycle. Half of it was shot, half of it was good, so I cut the thing and soldered some wires and whatnot to make it, one battery pack. So this thing, I would say, is roughly 2.83 amp hours, something like that. I've never measured it. I don't really care. It has enough to vacuum the whole damn house. So that's all that matters. The only problem is with my super fancy duct tape design here, I don't have clips. You know how typically Ryobis have these little clips, right? Well, I don't have that. So I do have a fair amount of Ryobi batteries. Here's just a few of them. Some of them are out, missing, but I've actually got 4 of the amp hours. One of them is at my kid's college. I got this one. This is a 2 amp hour. I think this might have been a refurb. Yeah, there's a refurb one. And then I've got a couple of other smaller ones, like this form factor. I got about 2 other ones, I think. One in the garage, one in my wife's car. So all told, if I'm doing my math right, I got 8 18-volt batteries. And I've got 6 of the 40-volt batteries. That's a different story. But back to the stick vac. So I literally just used it today, just vacuumed the whole house. And so far, so good. Last time I told you that this bottom wheel is broken. That is still the case. And basically what I did, because I'm cheap and I don't feel like spending money, I basically just put some of these furniture sliders, you know what I'm saying? You can get these for moving, put them on the bottom of your chairs and whatnot. And I just put those on there, and that seems to, you can see I had an old one that kind of fell off. Anyway, that's doing the job. They do have replacement wheels, but they're like $5-10. I'm not spending that. There's no way in hell. The other thing is you got to clean this brush. You can see the hair. My wife and my younger son, they kind of have a little bit longer hair. And so every, 3 to 6 months, I go in there with the scissors, cut it out, try to limit, whatever. But so far, so good. The brushes are still in there. It's still working fine. The thing works great. Like I said, this is the non-brushed model. And I've been using it. I use it in the basement. I use it in the upstairs, use it here in the downstairs. And so I already vacuumed, but I'm just going to show you just real quick kind of what it sounds like. If you're not familiar, you got a power button. You got an eco button, which will make it go in a slower speed, and it changes the color of the light. And then this top button is basically you can turn the brush head on and off. So I'm going to turn it on, turn the brush head off, and go on eco mode, and you'll see the differences. So here we go. On, brush head off, and then watch eco mode. So blue is like the lowest power. That'll probably last for half an hour, 45 minutes. But normally I go brush on, full power, hell with it. And then this is how you do it. All right, so got the general idea, right? So we got cat litter, you can see. Cat litter is a flipping nuisance. Got to vacuum every day. Anyways, all right. you got the general concept. So once you're done, I basically have, because of my little janky design here, I got this little shoelace basically. And then put it back in the corner. Whoop, there it goes. That's where it sits. And then this battery, like I said, it's just I call it the Franken battery, whatever, it doesn't matter. On the charger, it'll blink for just a few seconds, and then it'll start doing its thing. So I have really I've been using up this damn battery every single day, pretty much. I also use it in the nighttime to power my fan. You can see I've got a couple of these fans. I really like them a lot. And I use them when sleeping for noise, but air movement. And I basically use this guy. I have not really used these other ones all that much. Obviously, they do get in the rotation from time to time. This is the one I use for the recip saw, and that's why it literally says recip saw. I try to use this one just for that. Well, I would use the Frankenberry if I could, but it doesn't have clips. So I've never figured out a good way to tie it to my recip. I'm sure I could with some string or something, but haven't messed around with it. So I use this one for my recip, and you see it does have a little bit of dirt and whatnot. But the other ones, they get in the rotation from time to time. One of the things I found that's interesting is with 8 batteries, effectively, including the one that my kid has at college, we really don't need any more batteries. But the interesting part is, man, it's kind of like an addiction. These Ryobi batteries are so much fun to collect. And I don't know what it is. Sometimes they go on sale for pretty good prices. I've pretty much stuck to the originals, you know, to the name brand ones. But I've been looking recently at off-brand, or whatever they're called, aftermarket ones. I don't know. It's probably not going to happen at this point. But I'm trying to not buy any more batteries until 2030. So it's 2026 now. That's 4 years. I figure a couple of these will be gone by then. I'm pretty sure the Frankenberry will be gone by then. And then I'll show you a little bit later. I've got a small one in the garage that's kind of towards, it's just a small capacity. So more than likely those two are going to go. And then my other kid's going to go to college, so he'll probably take one of these 4 amps. And then we'll be left with these 3, plus I got another small one in my wife's car. And that's probably about right for the 18-volt line. So let's go out to the garage real quick, and I'll show you the other one I've got just recently. And this one I actually got on a deal. Well, it actually wasn't been that recent. So in the garage, I've got another setup here. So this is a smaller one. This is the, what is this? 1.89. So that's a 1.5 amp hour. So it's kind of small, you know. You see I labeled it with my kid's name. He actually doesn't use it, but it came with his drill, which is right there. This one's pretty good, but it just doesn't have the kick. I have used it on the stick vac, but it just doesn't really have the power. It'll only be enough to do the downstairs. So I'm sure that it's really killing these cells. 1.5 amp hour is not enough for that vacuum. You really need like 3 or 4, you know. But yeah, it's a nice one. I actually keep it out here now with this drill. And I'll tell you why. Because my Milwaukee M12, which is over here. I love this M12. Great drill. But my aftermarket battery conked out. I had this thing about 3-4 years. It's one of these no names. I think I paid maybe $12-15 for it. But it conked out. The cells no longer kept the charge. It was good for like 3 minutes of drilling time, like just totally shot. So I actually took all the guts out of it, and I'm gonna take it to the recycle pretty soon. So yeah, I've thought about buying another one of these, but right now I'm trying to stay true to my don't buy any more batteries for just a little while. Although, like I said, these M12s are also quite addictive to buy, especially because they're relatively cheap. 15, 20 bucks. You can buy a couple of these, or even make the bigger ones that have like the square pouch on the bottom. Instead of having just the 3 cells, you can see there's 3 in there. It'll have 3 more at the bottom, so you can have 6. So we'll see. I've thought about pulling the trigger on it, but it's not a need, especially since I've got this other drill here. More than likely what will happen is when my kid moves into his apartment, he'll get his drill, because this is his. I'll get him a new battery at the time. And then at that point, I'll be forced to buy a battery for this guy. So I have been trying to be good with these batteries, but like I said, they really are addictive. They are fun to buy. I might pull the trigger on, I'm going 2 different ways right now. Again, I'm not buying right now, but if I were, they've got a deal at Home Depot from time to time that comes with 5 of the high output batteries. I've never really seen a difference in those, by the way. To me, high output is kind of a scam. I don't really need it. None of my tools have high output, so I don't see the point. But anyway, they got a deal for 200 bucks, 5 batteries, and a charger, I think it is. That's not a horrible price. On the other hand, you could buy 8 of the knockoff batteries. Vannon, Waitley, there's a whole ton. I mean, they basically have a whole ton. Go on Amazon or eBay or whatever, and you can buy all sorts of, aftermarket. Or you go and you get the Recon, the ones from Tools Direct. Most of my batteries, I'd say, are Recon at this point. I think I've only got 2 like brand new ones from Home Depot. So that's the story on the Ryobis. Like I said, my addiction is real. I definitely could see how people end up having 20, 30 of these things. Right now I've just got 8, including that Frankenberry, and I think that's good for now. Once the kids leave, go to college, the other one goes to his apartment, I'm sure I'm going to divvy them up a little bit and maybe get a few more at that point. But realistically, between me and the wife, if we have like 4 batteries between the 2 of us, like that's actually perfect if you think about it. Even if you have one on a fan, one on her fan, and you got 2 charging up, like that's good enough. Or imagine you got 1 on each fan, so that's 2 people, and you got 1 in the stick vac and you got 1 charging. I mean, that's realistically, how often are you going to do more than 3 things at the same time with Ryobi batteries? It's just not really likely. Now, to be fair, I do keep one of them in her car. Again, it's like this, but it's a 2 amp hour. And then right now I don't have one in my car, but I'm thinking about, putting one of them in there. So that's pretty much it. I do have one other thing to show you, just while we're here. The other day, I went to the Home Depot, and this was in their recycle, so I grabbed it. Anyway, long story short, 2 of these, so there's 5 cells in here, right? 5. 2 of them were low. I tried to boost them up. They took a little charge, but not that much. And then I ended up frying the circuit board anyway. I jumpered the J1 to the positive instead of to the negative. Whoops. Anyway, it didn't matter. Thing started frying one of the circuit board pieces. You see, I actually had to cut everything out. I cut the batteries off of the circuit board, so that way they're not even connected anymore. And if you look through, you can see I haven't pulled that part out. So this one's going back to the recycle total garbage. My good buddy Flick had this one, and he bought it in when the hell did he buy it? 2021. So it's way past warranty. So yeah, I do try to play with these from time to time when I pick them up. Sometimes if you go to Home Depot, you pick them up out of the recycle, but I've only had one that I've been able to salvage. The rest of them have been basically all trash. So I think at this point, it's not worth the time and money. You just buy the ones that you want, either on the Home Depot sales or the aftermarket or the direct tools where you can buy the refurbished ones. So, but yeah, I'd be curious what people think. How many Ryobi batteries do you need? How many do you really need in your life? For me, I think 4. If there's 2 people, that seems about right. Now, if I was running a crew, you know, if I was running construction company, some shit like that. Oh, Lordy. I'd probably be running more, but with just just me and the wife, I think we're good. So I'm gonna try to hold off on buying any more at this point. And that's pretty much it. So, all right, well, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you. Later.